Greetings, my friend. We are all interested in the future, for that is where you and I are going to spend the rest of our lives. And remember, my friend, future events such as these will affect you in the future.
Would you flop your headphone forward? Your monitor. I go back.
Forward is more stable. When I flop it backward and I whip my head, it just falls off.
Yeah, maybe it's the size of our heads.
Yeah.
Shape of our heads.
I have a big head.
Really I'm also wearing a hat, so
yeah, you have more structural integrity.
Put it on the top part.
Hope you were rolling. That's gold.
Yes.
So I hope you were rolling. That was gold.
Oh, I am. Yeah, this is going on our Patreon as the pre-show bits. All right, cool. I will start us out. Today we're talking about the part of AI robotics that gets overlooked most, not the brain, but the body.
Yes. If anybody was there at Coral 2025 running around, you could definitely see the difference between people's expectations and what actually happened. So we were people walking around interacting with the robotic, what am I trying to say? Demos. And the Wi-Fi was crappy, or the LLM was there, and it just left you lacking. Like you would ask the robots, what's your favorite X, Y, and Z? And the robot would pause 3 or 4 seconds and give you a great LLM answer. Like it would be really cool. Like if it actually worked, and if the whole thing was just not a microphone, if the body would actually react. And the cool thing about working with you guys are movie magic people. So the roboticist, the robots are sitting there, they're talking to you with a weird, awkward, long pause. But I think, if a Hollywood team would win there, they're like, hey, every single time you ask a robot a question, the robot first rubs his chin or something else happens, like our thoughts are, he goes, right? And that's part of the body experience. What we're running into is all the people working on these systems. They're just still being like, oh, great, I'll just hook it up to my LLM and the magic is going to happen. Well, the magic's not there because it's not that simple. It's majority of communication is nonverbal. And that's where the body comes in. That's where all of the movie magic stuff comes in. And then, the real cool stuff that we're going to see in the future. It's when people who spend the time to understand how people communicate and how people experience life and how people tell stories with not just words, but with full environment, full body, hands. I mean, right now you can't see me, but I'm throwing my hands around while I'm just talking right here. And it makes a difference, especially when there's a lack.
Yeah. Well, you're diving in deep already. Not even just the embodiment, but you're talking about, the nuance of that dead air.
Right.
Or you talk about from the movie standpoint. So that in real time, like that, those would be moments that in the editing room we would cut out. The awkward pause.
Mm-hmm.
The robot is thinking. Ooh, the wheel's spinning. 5 seconds later, then it responds to you. That's what you're.
Yeah. Right now, we're obsessed with this LLM. The computer can now talk to you, ish. But the rest of it's missing. The magic part. And I also think there's we can go dive a little deeper there. What does the robot look like is important as well. And I think, Corey, we had a conversation a long time ago that, a lot of the Disney Imagineers that were spinning off their own company, they're like, oh, we're going to make a cartoon. And what you're saying was really, really smart and deep. It's like you can make that cartoon, but part of that cartoon identity is that two-dimensional aspect. Like let's call it Bluey, for instance.
Bluey scenario.
Yeah. And the minute Bluey has a shadow over the robot, it's not Bluey anymore because it's diverting away from that. So we have to be very careful on that embodiment, especially if we're bringing characters to life.
Yeah. And the instant that character is brought into the world that we know, everything changes. Yeah,
Mhm.
you're talking about a shadow. So
Right.
Bluey walks under a table. You see her in a different light than you ever have before.
Mm.
That
Mhm.
yeah, that certainly sucks you out. But so I mean, so pre-established IPs, there certainly is a struggle there to adapt. But new IPs that could be developed through robotics, and that's what we know from the get-go.
Mhm.
That's a different story. But yeah, I mean, circling back to the topic, I mean, so what is it that makes a robot feel alive to us?
I mean, things that I look for right now is not so much the embodiment. Like it's not trying to replicate a human. It's not replicating, or copying, something that's already out there. It's really leaning in forward into that human robot interaction side first. And that's like suspending disbelief. That's coming up and like putting the gap where the flaws are, the lack of time between the answers, the apparent, some of the robots are they just don't look like they're alive when they're talking to you. They don't look like they're really emotionally engaging with you.
Yeah.
With the embodiments that people are putting out, like let's call it like real human faces, they're trying to replicate that. I'm not sure if we're ready for that. Like, can we just make a robot be able to talk and interact with us, even if it looks just like a robot? That would be really cool right now. We're jumping past that and we're getting into this kind of a Frankenstein era where we're trying to replicate human life and just missing the mark. And so I think what a robot coming alive is for me to actually believe in its embodiment that it's fully doing the best it can do. And
Yeah.
I'm coming to it and that's not coming to me. Versus like an example of that is if I make it a complete humanoid with skin and everything trying to replicate a human, that uncanny valley, I think, is the thing that we talk about a lot. And that creates a huge gap because I'm expecting you to be able to do what a human's going to be able to do.
Mm-hmm.
But if you have a little 12-inch toy robot and it starts dancing on the table, I'm like blown away. Like because that like looks like, a toy. And now there's enough intelligence, all the movement stuff. It's blowing people away. Like they go to the toy fairs. Like I know investors going there and they go to Mattel and you have the Batman, I don't know if that's RIP, but you have their toys. And you're still, 10 years ago they had the same thing. But you go to a lot of the other like countries, India and China, they're running little like Raspberry Pis in there and they're doing incredible like things with very, very low cost robotics. And it's not the price of the robot, how fancy it is. It's like, wow, I expect that to be a toy. And you're blowing me away that it can actually mimic movements and very small, like pre-programmed phrases and words, but it's timed and it's delivered and it's appropriate for the interaction you're giving it.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm talking about. It's like saying, what today can we do a really good job with to suspend disbelief and then wow people?
Yeah.
And
Yeah. Well, we all of our stuff we did we lumped things into 3 different categories that we were pursuing. So you listed one of them already of just embracing the robot.
Yes.
Like here's a robot that I'm talking to and that's great. C3PO, sweet.
Yep.
Another one would be creatures. So
yes.
be that some slime monster or some big hairy beast,
Mhm.
whatever it may be, or um, I don't know, some version of like a superhero, for example,
Mhm.
or Spider-Man, where it has a mask on the face. But but yes, to your point of the uncanny valley, I mean we're biologically programmed for disease and all
Mhm.
sorts of things. If there's a slight issue with what I'm looking at, it repulses us, and we naturally recoil, and I'm going to distance myself for my own defensive mechanisms. I don't want to get sick. So yeah, so I mean, if your skin is off, the skin tone, speaking from a past life as a colorist, if
Mhm.
things don't naturally fall in the skin tone line or things, but if someone's a little too yellow, jaundice, or whatever it may be, it's that's one tiny little thing. Not to mention, the eyes, the gleam in that, and just the way your mouth moves, all the above. So I mean, faces are absolutely the you know by far the hardest thing to achieve. So not to say that we shouldn't pursue that by any stretch. I mean that is definitely the way it's going. But I don't know. I think we're kind of missing the forest for the trees in that regard. To
Yep.
me, it's just I mean embrace those other three categories that I mentioned.
Yep.
Um, I mean,
Well, yeah,
yeah.
like how do you it's like finding that middle ground for how can I make something that is engaging and human-ish rather than something that's hitting the uncanny valley, which is hitting the,
Mhm.
fight or flight part of your brain, even if it's not that intense of a trigger, like it's still hitting something very deep and primal that is just telling your body like something is wrong, be alert, like
Mhm.
this is
Mhm.
not the time for relaxation and, you
Mhm.
know, emotional depth.
Yeah. Well, there's an aspect to that that's it's like a I mean, it's a mathematical limit of some nature. The
Mhm.
closer you do get to perfection, the more, um, I don't know, what am I looking for here? The pickier we become.
Yes.
Um,
Well, it's like
I'm
what.
thinking just like this week, there's a new James Bond video game coming out, and you know, like okay, it's more lifelike than GoldenEye from the '90s. But at the same time, like there was no issue. People just embraced GoldenEye. Like
Yeah,
this James Bond, this is sweet,
yeah,
even though he's just polygons and it's silly. But
Mhm.
now as we're getting closer and closer, it's just like, yeah, I don't know. Like his arms aren't moving the way that an arm should move, even though he looks close enough to a human.
Yep.
So we actually reject it more than we would GoldenEye.
yeah. I mean that's something that we've talked about a lot, and Joel brought it up earlier. The how do you get your audience to suspend disbelief? I
Hmm.
think that's a very big component in just visual storytelling. That's why
Yes.
a
Yeah,
lot of huh?
stylize.
Yeah, yeah. Because then, like, if if you'd use a superhero movie, for example, if the effects fall flat, I'm checking out. You
Hmm.
know, if it doesn't look real, if it's not selling me, but like, whereas like in a lot of animation, you have free reign to just kind of do what you want because
Yep.
it's not grounded in reality and it's not entering the zone that you exist in, trying to convince you that this is real. It's asking you to come meet it in its element, right?
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
This is something I've been pondering quite a bit, and I came up with a great word for this index. It's a Mary Shelley index.
Mm.
You know, Yeah, as we try to create biological like replicas of of life as that asymptote, as you get closer and closer and closer, I think we're gonna get this like repulsion to it, and then we're gonna be more and more clear that we have so far to go.
Mm.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
Yep.
that's I don't know how deep you've gotten into that, but that's perfect. I mean, Mary Shelley, she really is. She's got the street cred of being. I mean, that was the first sci-fi.
Yes.
Frankenstein was the first sci-fi,
Hmm.
and I mean, so much of everything we're talking about, robotics taking over humanity, blah blah blah,
Hmm.
all that stuff. But I mean, it does go back to that original story. Her just
Yes.
creating life without a womb,
Yep.
without a woman.
And
Um,
it also just kind of reminds me of like I think of the state, at least the visual state of like video games today. You know, a lot of big AAA titles, they're just striving for photorealism, but they've been striving for photorealism for 20 years now. And it seems like that's like their big offer is like, oh, look how real this looks. But to me, and I think the market reflects this, is that the games that are doing well and that stand the test of time are the ones that walked away from realism and said, we're going to do
Yeah.
something stylized.
Absolutely.
Indie games for sure.
Yeah. Well, and then I mean, from a monetary sense, I mean, it's depreciating returns for sure. I
Yep.
mean, what GTA 6? We're on
Mhm.
how many decades have they been working on that thing? It's just at a certain point. I mean, it's never going to be ready, and then there's so much data. Okay, well, this is a 200 gigabyte game. I'm gonna download on my PlayStation. You know,
Mhm.
it, it it starts getting crazy.
Mhm.
But yeah, it's so I do think there's, you know, for the lack of a better term, there's a spiritual component to that, of just this aspect of, I don't know, humanity. We have a special role to play. This is what we do, and this is an other. Like
Yep.
nothing can match us. It
Mm.
just can't, in the sense of, again, our role. Now we can define what all that is, um, but yeah, it's just like I said earlier. We're biologically programmed to, if it's not one of us, we do reject it.
Mm.
Yep.
Yeah, like Joel, I'd love to hear some of your thoughts on this. It's just like I think Corey has a really good point about creating something that is distinctly separate from humanity,
Mhm.
you know, and maybe even triggering that suspension of disbelief, you know, even though that the audience is going to understand that this is a robot. But like, despite that, you know, how do we get them to look at something like this as an actual companion worth having a relationship with, you know,
Yep.
especially with like the state of hardware is only getting better.
Mhm.
But
Mhm.
like how do we loop that in with actually building something that people want to engage with?
Absolutely. And not only that is we understand these systems are going to be probably brought by large companies to begin with. So like, do you want another Google, Amazon, Meta, Grok, in your house recording what you're doing? Um, but to answer your question directly, uh, it's not another projector robot on wheels that we've been seeing large companies coming out with. Samsung Bali, I think that was some fantastic things that they did. I think it's a business to business probably. I can see it working really well in a museum, but at home, do you need a robot to, you know, another screen to project on the wall?
Mm.
Astro did that too with Amazon. Um, what we were seeing like just early on, like Roomba, something useful. Like, man,
Yeah.
I don't want to. I want clean floors every single day, and I don't want to pick up after myself. Yeah, I want to have fun, or I want to do something useful, and that brought like usefulness into a home through a robot embodiment.
And
So,
then
yeah,
I think another part of it too is like when I think of Roombas, I think of like how they interact with pets and all the fun moments that like
yep,
that's made both in person and on the internet. You know, like
yep,
it's a whole thing of cats riding Roombas and like,
yep,
you know, I think something like that is a great way to, you know, humanize the robot, even though in this case it's a very short cylinder that just drives around on the ground. But now
exactly.
it's in the space, it's interacting with your loved ones. Your cat is freaked out, and now in some very rudimentary way, it's almost like this Roomba is part of the family, you know?
Yeah, and I think the next embodiment of robotics in the home, and everyone knows it's going to happen eventually, is a bipedal robot.
Mm.
And to be successful into the home, you have to be safe. And so that means it's going to be a small bipedal robot. And what nobody knows, none of these $1 billion VC firms, they don't know if it's big enough to have a useful functionality, or is it going to be small and to be a toy first, or something in the middle. But there's a point around like 36 inches. If you're under that, you can't really do very much useful things in a home. And if you're over that, now if you fall over, you're in trouble and you're trapping people, or breaking feet.
What's the 36-inch thing? That countertops?
Yeah, countertops, tables.
Okay.
Yeah, that's where you are. Like, can you reach over? Can you see over it? And that's where, actually, not to go too down the rails, there was I was part of kind of a think tank endeavor for military robotics, and that's where we came up to, like, that 36 inches. Can it open a door to go in there? This is more robotics for first in responders. Like, can I not neutralize the threat, but identify the threat, so there wasn't a casualty. So that 36 inches really gets you awareness inside of a home. I can start seeing enough over furniture. I can start engaging with doors and open them up. But as far as like payload, I can't really like lift anything if I'm a 36-inch robot.
Yeah.
I can't really like leverage anything. So I might be able to open your dishwasher up open, but I cannot reach into your shelves to put anything up. So its usefulness is limited. And that's what it comes back to, like what I talked about Roomba, Blake, when you asked there, like, you got to solve a problem for somebody to get it into your home. And it can't just be, Furby was a novelty. Everyone had Furbies all in their homes, right? But you don't see Furby anymore. And that's where robotics needs to be. They need to actually solve a real problem, not be a novelty for it to stick around. And that's where everyone's, and including myself, I don't know in the home where we're going. But for entertainment, that's where we're talking. We can actually start like putting some scaffolding around that. It could be a dog robot. It could be a humanoid, probably more like an elf or a goblin or something on the creature side, where people are like, I don't have an analog to that in the real world. So you come up with whatever you want to tell me, and I can believe that. But the minute you tell me something that I have an expectation of, you're good luck.
I do have a dire need for a little dude that will go to the fridge and grab me another Dr. Pepper.
I think that's a real thing. I mean, people teach their dogs how to get them beers all the time. So there is a market for you. Yeah.
Well, that I mean, just sticking with the in-home. I mean, obviously, this is all about entertainment, ultimately. But I mean, from the toy side of things, marketing. Once there is an established IP, et cetera, et cetera.
Yep.
Yeah, bringing things into the home. Is that? I mean, just where is the state of that, Bill? As far as from the manufacturing side, at least in America, like how far are we from being able to mass produce something of that nature?
That mass producing thing is not that hard. Like, we can ramp that up and we can get that into your home. The problem is, and we've already seen it with both Amazon and Samsung, and at least those are the big ones that we know of, getting like a robot into your home outside of a Roomba. And Samsung's been very successful in like the vacuums. The humanoid side, or even a dog robot, has not been done yet. Mass producing is not a problem. It's really making it a useful tool, I think, and a tool that you can trust. And I know Blake really likes Linux. So like the Linux robot that I know is completely connected to my on-prem server, or just my laptop, no data is leaking out of it. We're getting closer to that. It's not a production problem, in my opinion.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, then this is the right podcast to be listening to, then, I guess.
It's
Okay.
like, what do you think the motivator for getting something like that into the real world is? You know, it's like I know I've seen a million Boston Dynamics ripoffs from China, so
Mhm.
it's like a lot of these machines are out there,
Yep,
but
totally.
in terms of, you know, actually creating something that gets into the home and actually solves something, like what do you think is the big hurdle that just a lot of these companies either aren't seeing or are failing to get over?
Well, before we go in there, we should talk about why are they going after the home? Like
Mm,
what structurally in society, what's making these robot companies want to do that? And the reason why they're wanting to do that is hardware is expensive,
mhm,
number one. Number two, they're VC backed, venture capital. Venture capital is, I don't care about getting 10% return. I don't care about 20, 30, 40, 50. I want 100x return. And I'm going to continue investing in these things until I get one. And I just need one company to make it big in my portfolio.
mhm,
And for that to happen on the robotic side, you have to have a big TAM, total accessible market. And that's where that iPhone, like the investors have been looking for hardware. Like I need to get the next iPhone,
mhm.
um, which is kind of crazy because like you have Elon over there building rocket chips and building cars and doing the same thing. Have the iPhone moment, but people are more excited about like how do I get 1.5 million or 1 billion robots in the home, and that's where that narrative happens,
Mhm.
and that's where people, especially in 2023, 2024, they went around and told all the VCs like it's the we're about to have the LLM moment for robotics. Don't you want to invest in a company that's about to proliferate these to the biggest market in the world?
Mhm.
Um, and I think that is the driving factor of why these companies went out for the home is because they needed a big TAM to have the outsized returns for the investment method they went after. Versus if they went private equity and these private equity companies had, I don't know, they ran warehouses or they ran high tech manufacturing or medical, and they invested, well, then I think the robots would be in manufacturing and warehousing
Yeah.
because that's where the investors wanted it and that's where they're pushing the money. So that's where I think, and the reason why I think a lot of these companies went for the home, to,
Mm.
to be fully transparent. It makes sense that Amazon and Samsung has, and Google will have robots coming into the home and it will start small and go big. But that's very nuanced. That's different because that's their bread and butter, getting hardware into your home. So it's research and development for them versus VC backed, like getting your humanoid in there. And last night, I had a VC buddy call me and said, "Hey, that big company that has that big robot? I'm not giving any names right now.
Mhm.
They're thinking maybe the home is not where we're going. Maybe we need to
Interesting.
go industrial." So we're already seeing that and kind of unraveling over the next year or two because of the things we're talking about. The uncanny valley. Are you solving an actual problem? Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I guess, twofold question here. One of them I'll lead into, explain a little bit, but one of them of a rationale for going into the home. Is there part of that things we've discussed in the past of just East meets West geopolitics stuff,
Mm,
but just in the West of how we're individuals.
mhm.
That's cornerstone of who we are. So are they trying to reach the individual, or is that or do they even acknowledge that? And then I guess my follow up question would then be just from with everybody trying to get into the home,
Yep.
why are they so blind to the importance of, again, where we're individuals, of trying to touch the human heart and trying to, this is what'll sell it.
Yep.
If their emphasis truly is to get into the home, like, well, you got to give me, you got to give little Timmy a reason to want Bluey in his house,
Hmm. Hmm.
and you know, get mom and dad's credit card. That would do it. But
Well, I think the intent is there in a lot of these companies. Um, you're balancing two different things. You're balancing like, hey, what's the form factor I can mass produce? So you get some conformity there. Conformity is not so much tailored for the individual. You'll see in some commercials here, and not to name any companies, but you'll see a bunch of different clothing options for some of these robots. So you're getting closer to maybe to the individual there. And then we also see that they're hiring robot and human interaction, specialist, even robot care. There was a robot company that's large, like $1 billion plus investments, uh, getting, character, like background stories for all these robots. So you see a little bit of these like flavors of individualistic
Mm-hmm.
sides of, going for the individual. And you see Elon, saying, hey, don't you want your own robot buddy? So that's very individualistic there. I think what's missing here is that at the end of the day, Timmy's and Jimmy's and Susie's robot all look the same. And they're just going to be slightly different because their LLMs are, reinforced by the owners. But they're all going to look the same. They're going to have all the same kind of capabilities.
Yeah.
Um,
But we live in a world where, or in the States, things are driven by American Girl doll. I mean, it is, every single one of them is unique, and they've all got their little name.
Right.
Then they can dress them up how they want, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah, it's still, it seems like, they're just missing that aspect. But
And and Blake, you could probably speak to this on at least the Hollywood side. Like, you can create a character, but how does that character interact with individuals? That's tricky part. And like, especially when you're ramping up, like the American Girl doll, you have like probably hundreds of different versions of characters there, so they can and one kind of embodiment. But it kind of gets pretty tricky doing that on a robotic scale when it comes to adults and getting that. So that's where the Blake thing, like when you do film screenings, and then you developing these characters, how are you? That's a lot of work to optimize that for your audience.
Man, even like what happens at my house with my robot buddy is not the same as your house with your robot buddy, even if they are the same.
Mm-hmm.
And those experiences should change
Mm-hmm.
the personalities. So it almost feels a little weird and dystopian to have like a bunch of, robots that look the same, but they all just have really different personalities based on an individual person. So like maybe the answer, at least like character wise, is to have some sort of a centralized character code of like, this is so and so, this is what their character is, and they will they'll interact with you based on that definition. And so then maybe it becomes a little bit different of like, my robot is different than your robot. Well, maybe we have the same robot, and we don't both have robot buddies. We have the same robot buddy.
Yep. Talking about buddies.
Yeah. He just doesn't want to be replaced.
Yeah, he does not want to be replaced. It's Henry, our corgi. Give me 1 second. I'm letting him.
I can jump right back in.
Yeah, right on.
But yeah, one follow up there to Blake. Again, things that you and I have discussed in the past. But things from a DoD perspective that could transfer over to entertainment and variants of stuff, but of just deviation from the median here. Okay, let's just say most robots end up being 6 feet tall. Okay, great. But with the same factory, the same this, the same that. But then you got other ones that are, 68 inches tall. And everything in between. That's again the variance, just like we are humans. I mean, I've got big long monkey arms.
Mm-hmm.
I'm 6 foot tall, but I think I got like a 75-inch reach. None of my shirts ever fit, but but that variance and but how that back to 3 robots building a world. But when you
Mm-hmm.
have that slight variance, not just in personalities in the LLM component, but in the hardware, that makes
Yes.
that customization. I mean, building your avatar in a video game type of a deal.
Mm-hmm.
That I mean, it certainly would e- empower these things to be able to do slightly different things, slightly more efficiently or inefficiently, et cetera, et cetera.
Mm-hmm.
Do you see that? I mean, obviously, we're talking about characters, so I think there's large swath of variance there.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, even for the norm, like I mean, do you see that being a driving factor?
Yep, for sure, for sure. And there's a really great quote from Rodney Brooks, like founder of iRobot. His quote was, "Just looking at a robot tells a story. Like the capabilities aesthetically.
Mhm.
So red eyes, 6'5", whatever it is. Like the taller it is, the more capability you're automatically going to assume it's stronger. So I totally think the application of what it needs to be doing, or whether it is taking people through a museum or putting dishes away in your house, just looking at it and the way it functions right there is going to be huge. Absolutely. Um, and there is going to be variances because, you know, people's homes, like we have a mutual friend, they have larger doorways because the dad is like, close to 7 feet tall.
Mhm.
And so their vehicles are a certain size, their house and everything like that. So you probably have a little bit larger robot there to be able to reach up and move around there. So the goal of robotics in the home is to conform around the, the family of the people and not so much the people around the robot. And I think that's what we're actually passionate about too, pushing that, because now everyone's getting conformed around their screens,
Mhm.
phones. I'm not sure if I answered that question, but
No, no, certainly. I was just trying to think of, I mean, other general applications aside from, I mean, to your point, our 7 foot friend. I mean, just true utility. I mean, just
Mhm.
how that could actually help us on a broader sense. I know I
Yes.
know I'm stepping out of, again, the entertainment space, but it's like, hey, I need you to go climb through this hole, or I need you to go uh, climb to the top of this electric pole, or whatever.
Mhm.
But those slight form factors. I mean, you got to be a certain height to be a pilot.
Yep.
Like you got to be able to fit in the cockpit. So those different applications, but at the same time, it's still broadly the same thing.
Mhm.
Um, so that's more what I was getting at. But
Yeah. Well, that kind of bridging a couple of different things right there. You need to unlock something when you bring a new tool. Like you're not going to just have a bunch of like, okay, I have a medium flathead screwdriver. I have a little bit bigger, a little bit bigger, a little bigger. Like you might have a really big one and a little small one, depending on what you're doing. But you don't need 100 different variations and forms here, because you're not really unlocking anything with those tools. You're not getting meaningful benefit.
Mhm.
So if you have a 7 foot robot and it can put all of your dishes away instantly and like clean all of the stuff that you can't reach, or it can do something that just unlocks an ability in your home, heck yeah, let's have a 5 foot robot. Um, that's where we're going right there. Like, is it actually helping?
Mhm.
In the Roomba, it's really small form factor. It can go underneath the couch and all the way underneath the bed that I struggle with cleaning, right? That form factor, being a short cylinder, actually unlocks things that help me out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not just replacing where I can mop. It's actually like if I have a king size bed, it's cleaning the whole thing under there and I don't have to like bend down and get and struggle with that. It unlocks an ability for us. So
I guess like what do you think the current state of the technology is, and maybe what work still needs to be done in terms of actually like, characterizing these robots and giving them the features that we actually want to interact with. That way it's not just a machine that does a specific task for me, but we can elevate something like a Roomba into something that has an actual personality.
yeah. Well, I had great conversations recently with Cornell, researchers, both on the educational side and also on the new ventures that they're working on. On the educational side, they're already saying our machines, like there is some in like if you have just a bunch of machines, we imprint emotions on them. And so having some personality like that, we already seen like on the humanoid side in labs people are working on, they'll have 4 or 5 humanoids, and because they've just run them, hard, some of the motors are just a little slower than other ones. So they're like, one robot will actually have a separate type of walk. Like, and they're just like, oh man, I like that one better than the other ones. And they don't know why. And they've kind of like dug deep and like, oh, you know what? Because that one is different. I like that one. Um, and, and they're playing with that. They're playing with like, how can I actually have a walk that's personalized? How can I have the way it moves that's personalized? And how it interacts with people. It's not so much about having that like unique thing. It's about having that human goes, oh, that's my robot, or I have scaffolding for a memory, or I have scaffolding to like mental scaffolding. Like, it's not just a robot. It's the one that brought me the beer yesterday.
Yeah.
And then like I had this good experience or a bad experience, but like we use personification of things to actually create memories of that tool. And I think that's the important part here. It's how the human mind processes working with it.
So maybe you could just have a deployment of really wide and varied technology types, like motors and artificial tendons and all that, to like kind of use the motor capability to build a personality.
Right. You have that. You have the uniqueness of there. You have the person personifying the hardware. That's a big one right there. Just, on very basic level there. When the interaction stuff happens, what we're seeing is on device AI models. It can't be streamed. We can't like stream the camera feed of your face back in and back. We really have to have it all in the model. And so we're seeing compute get good enough. And it's primarily because driven by large companies getting it on the phone.
Yeah.
You have a limited computer that's cost effective that everyone can afford. And if that can actually house a on device, model, then your robot can. So we're seeing that happen.
And then that is just a distribution of computing. It's not centralized, because otherwise, all the robots would have to phone home and hit the server, and that introduces a lot of latency. And I think it was Corey bringing it up earlier about waiting 5 seconds, and it just kind of like kills the magic, and I would say even invites frustration.
Absolutely. And one of the great sayings this year, especially on the manufacturing side, a fast robot is a smart robot. Whether it's moving fast, avoiding an obstacle or putting your dishes up, we immediately assign that kind of a dexterity side into intelligence as humans. So a fast robot is a smart robot. And that actually plays into a bunch of different things, because if that robot's in the way, we tend to get, be impatient as people. So we'll go and like, walk around and we'll start putting it up there. And that causes any problems because the robot's trying to like struggle with us, or we're walking around it. And now, we the robot having to do its job and to avoid us. So it actually like compounding effect of intelligence like lack there, at least on the perception side.
So really the kind of marriage of simple capacity plus latency kind of can form all the functions of a robot that like doesn't get in the way of us like perceiving it as a real character.
Yeah. Right now, like the latency side, if you need the character to talk,
Mhm.
then you need to fix the latency. You can have characters right now, or even robots now, as long as you don't in this year, 2026, this year, I would not try to have a robot talk to you
Mhm.
because the latency problems right now and the on-device LLMs are just not, or on-device compute and models married together are not good enough. 2027, I think we're like, if you look at the speed of what we're doing and how the trajectory, entropy, money in the market, that is coming pretty soon. Right now, it's not. So I would say if you wanted something to do dance and song and reactions, and in the movie magic side, if you had that robot always do the thinking pose. Right now, in the limited cases, I think you can get away with some interaction side, but you have to really be sensitive to that, and that is a real problem right now.
Yeah. Well, on the entertainment side, I mean that stuff can be that can be accounted for in the sense of, I mean, if it's in a movie or if it's on a stage play or whatever it may be, you just cue it up that much faster, or again you that part gets cut on the editing room floor. So that can be taken care of there. But what we're talking about here is true interaction, and yeah, where we accept it. Again, just our conversations here. I mean, there's plenty of delay, lag, where we are stopping and thinking about what we're going to say.
Yep.
But at the same time, like when I'm doing it, I mean, you're looking at me. You can see the wheels turning in my head. I'm just trying to get it out. But a robot truly just freezes there. And I know this is exactly where we started this whole thing. But
Well, like one of the big uses in film production has always been I need something to do a task the same exact way every single time.
Yes.
And that's been a huge benefit in like the visual effects space. But especially as like entertainment becomes more and more real time, and maybe you're actually like in a space interacting with a thing rather than watching it on a screen, like that's the kind of bridge, right? Like the building a character that you can interact with in real time and
Correct.
and struggle to not break the illusion, keep that suspension of disbelief up.
Yeah. Well, when you're doing multiple takes and something, we got motion controlled cameras now that can repeat camera movements for VFX tracking and all that. But yes, likewise, and if the robot's tied into the same system, just go do the same thing again. The human actors know what to do and how to respond. But then, yeah, I mean, we're realize we're talking about hardware at the moment, but the software side of, I mean, that thing being able to riff as well, and improvising, going off script, ever so slightly, but keeping that fresh at the
Yeah.
same time, and
Well, that's all
giving
dependent on hardware.
correct. Yes. But yeah, giving that, I mean, back to that, the human interaction, that's what real actors do. That we react. The best actors in the world are still reacting to something. So, that's fascinating. Adding more actual characters as opposed to Bruce, Jaws.
Yep.
That was got its actuators, whatever. It's just
Absolutely.
it's chomping, it's doing its thing, but it was still it was so limited, Obviously, that's way back in the 70s, but everything since then, nothing has changed from that. Robotics or animatronics or anything else, it's still someone's got their hand at the controller and doing what they're doing.
Yes.
Um, Again, I realize I'm taking us off script here, but
I mean, you're exactly. I think there's a really good point there. Like form factor. Like if you're a shark,
mm-hmm.
we're not going to be talking.
Yeah, absolutely.
Not yet.
And if you're a computer, like, when you're loading, you have a loading icon, right? And even people right now, sometimes I don't have an answer for you. So like I say, that's a good question.
Mm-hmm.
Or I say, or anything else like that. And I also ramble a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
So form factors is huge there. And then how you process that. And like, Spotify is like magic right now because that next song just starts playing. For everyone who knew, lived in the dial-up phase, you're like, this is incredible. What you don't see is it's loading the next song as you're listening to the song right now.
Mm.
So there's a lot of like this human factor side. And it really does change. The interaction, emotional connection to people does change on the form factor. Like,
Also, like something that we've kind of brought up a few times in this conversation is has been about like the variation of form factor.
Yep.
And to me, thinking about that in a mass production type sense, that just sounds horrible. Just like
yeah.
we've got to make a billion different specs with customer order, made to order specialty stuff. I mean,
For sure.
do you think that there's like a future that's being worked on where there's just like a building block robotics ecosystem where it's like, these are the blocks they assemble to make a 36-inch dude or a 7-foot tall guy, and then be adaptable enough to actually pivot those into something to be a bit more like character facing.
My mind always goes to what is the analog actually happening right now?
Mm-hmm.
Like mass produced, things that are very customizable. And we do see like some early stages on the manufacturing side that's flexible. Jeff Bezos, his new car company, you can
Yes, Slate.
yeah,
Mhm.
it's like super customizable. Like we'll see how successful they are at doing that. So I think that is there. And as the robotics like
Mm.
manufacturing side goes up, variation it could be there.
Well, yeah, it seems like the core philosophy at Slate is that we're just going to build the bare bones,
Yep.
and it's up to third parties to meet market demands in terms of customizability.
Yes. And then we also see that there's, can't name names, but there is a large company out there. And they have robots and immersive experiences. And they have a bunch of just Skeletor robots, and they go and dress up and put skins on.
Mm-hmm.
Whether that's a robot dog or humanoid, they have those things that they're working on right now that they can customize, but they have a fleet of them.
Yeah.
So there's an opportunity there, and as 3D printing
Mm-hmm.
is a perfect example. A lot
Yeah.
of people like got excited about like endless customization. You turn the digital into that.
Decentralized manufacturing, yeah.
Absolutely. But even on the assembly line, I can have, the robots are coming down and the 3D printers are printing the customizable aspects, like underlying like facial features right there, and just clip them in.
Mm-hmm.
And that's actually the cool thing about like working on robotics right now. Almost every robot that shows up, there's some 3D printed part
Mm-hmm.
because they're rapidly changing these things, optimizing around people.
Yeah.
And so I think there's tools out there for sure. I mean, we have metal 3D printing.
Mm-hmm.
We've got obviously the plastics, and both on you're melting the plastic, and you're also like doing light based
Mm-hmm.
processing, so like very fine features you can get in there. So I do think that that's a big possibility of having like infinite amount of opportunities, but in very structured ways.
Mm-hmm.
Face, maybe the hand. There's some hand companies that we've been working with. When I say working with right now, I'm working on trying to do applications and help them get to where they need to go. But it's actually 3D printed hands.
Mhm.
And so I could actually have a new hand, very, very low cost that would plug in, and it could be specialized in long fingers or, thicker, stronger components in there. And it's all 3D printed. So I can go through 100 different variations that fit my use cases really quickly.
Mhm.
So long way of saying it, there are tools out there right now either on the generative design and also the physical manipulations, like that 3D printing, that really can lead into infinite amount of variation on the product side.
Mm.
But
This-
it's hard supply chain side and assembly to figure out. But it
Well,
can be done.
that's where
Yeah.
decentralization comes into play.
Mhm.
The supply chain is not as big of a hurdle to get over because you can just make the parts that you need locally.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah, well, I was just gonna. I mean, this is absolutely fascinating to me, coming from a Six Sigma guy. I
Mhm.
mean,
Mm.
variance is the death of things, and so I mean, we're just flipping that on its head. So,
Yep.
yeah, this
Well, I mean,
is. I
some
love it, but for this use case, for a car that
Yeah.
Yeah,
you,
Yeah.
you
really
don't want
different.
you don't want that.
Well, like
But
something that I've thought a lot about in the kind of push to bring manufacturing back to America. It's like, we will never be competitive at the point where we can be making like screws here. It's too cheap of a part. It's too, the volume is just too high. It just the economics wouldn't really make sense for stuff like that to happen here. But one thing that America is really good at is bespoke, small run, highly
Mhm.
specialized workflows.
And I have a Ford Maverick, and
Mhm.
they have clips all over that vehicle for me to go and either bolt something on there or 3D print a part and slide in there. And I was
Mhm.
like, that is just really cool. And obviously, you can get on Etsy and get somebody else's design
Yeah.
sent over to you. So endless customization, at the user side. So, and that's aftermarket stuff. And so I
Mhm.
think robotics, that's actually a really cool angle when you partner with people. I think ecosystems is a way to blend these opportunities out there for sure.
Aftermarket robotics scene.
Yep.
That's not the most cyberpunk thing I've ever heard. That's awesome.
Yeah. And the leaf, you know what? To be honest with you, from someone who really looks at how a robot's interacting on a manufacturing side, but even I think about how robots are the next generation of tools specifically for robots.
Mm.
And then I think goes into the home. I don't know if the kitchen gadgets are going to look the same going in there. What if and then the productivity. Do I really want my robot running around chopping vegetables? Because that means my robot has a big knife in there. In
Yeah.
their hands. So I'm like, I think there's going to be a huge amount of change in our world. People are going to be selling robot, vegetable, preparation hardware.
Mhm.
So,
I mean, at least like in terms of like humanoid robotics,
yep.
it's it seems to me like the trade-off is a humanoid robot can be extremely widely capable at a lot of different things rather than
Yes.
a single uh machine that does a couple of tasks very, very good.
Mhm.
Don't ask your um, vegetable chopper robot to, do your homework, right? Like, it's just, that's not going to work.
Mhm.
But I mean, just like me as like a systems engineer, I'm always thinking about like, well, would a handful of, potentially less expensive machines like, maybe a sink integrated with a dishwasher that will just automatically yoink my dishes and load them for me.
Mhm.
Um, I could see a world where every future kitchen is just equipped with 5 little machines that just automate a bunch of stuff for you. Um, and if they're all being made the same, the Six Sigma style is like the cost on those will come down.
Yes.
And so, I mean, my mind goes to, it seems like the real value add for humanoid robots is the personal relationship, right? Like,
Mhm.
it's like it can do a lot of things, um, anything even. But then a lot of these specialized machines, they're very good at the one or two things that they do. Um, yeah,
Yeah.
no,
Well,
like I just kind of go between.
yeah. Well, to that, I mean, in going sci-fi here, I mean, we go to the sage that is the Jetsons, but
Mhm.
I mean, they had all those tools of the here's the food prep machine, this, that, and the
Mhm.
other.
Yes.
But
They also had,
Rosie
yeah,
Rosie ran the house,
Mhm.
and yeah, yeah.
Yep.
She took those dishes and then put them away.
yeah,
But she in and of herself was a character,
Yes.
and she had a personality, and people fell in love with it. But yes, I think you're accurate as far as these specialized things for, yeah, dishwashing. The
Mhm.
humanoid, it's not just going to stick the dishes in its chest and wash
No,
it off
yeah.
absolutely not.
and spit it out. Um, so but as far as those things integrating with one another, that's pretty fascinating.
Absolutely. And I think that's where I think everyone's heard digital twin, right? You have a digital twin,
Yeah,
manufacturers that everything digital twin. This is actually the first time that digital twins make sense because you have, Star Wars. Let's pull out some really cool characters in the R2D2. That's the human interface to all machines. My human and my co-pilot in my spacecraft. It's my hook into the enemy like fortress, and it opens up all my doors and tells me people are coming. And I have C3PO, who's connects human to human, race to race. What we're seeing is it's going to combine everything, and so that digital twin in manufacturing is actually coming to life, and through the robotic side. So we're actually sharing understanding of the world and bringing the virtual into digital into the real. And I think that also makes things pretty beautiful in the home because it's connecting like that humanoid gets you off of Amazon for 6 hours scrolling for the right product because you could be in your kitchen and be like, hey, we need this X, Y, and Z. It could be food, it could be tools, it could be, X, Y, you name it. But you start actually divorcing you conforming into the digital shopping on your phone, and you're pulling that out. And that's where Google has not been able to get there yet because they have a screen in I have it in I have a Google Nest home screen. And it's great whenever I want to look at, outdoors, but it's not solving a problem for me.
yeah,
But that the humanoid is actually because the reason why it's not solving a problem with me, I still have to actually interface with the digital.
right.
Right. I'm still conforming. And the humanoid or the robot, whatever you want to form factor it is, it's actually bridging the gap for me and letting me being a human more in my own home.
Well, the marketer in me immediately jumps to, all right, we're just going to start building algorithms for robotic purchasers, Like,
Exactly.
yeah,
Yeah. And that's going to ruin it.
yeah,
That's going to absolutely ruin it because you're like, every time Billy the robot orders something, it is either the cheapest, crappiest thing, or it's the most expensive thing, or it's marketed toward me, and I just feel like it's a lie every time.
yeah. You need to somehow build some sort of a taste index of like, this is the kind of stuff that I want. Try to make decisions in line with that.
Yep. But this is, because I have a long commute, this is something that like, if robots really can order something to me, I really need this new paradigm where my like matching algorithms are divorced from advertisement.
Mm-hmm.
Like you can't, as someone who's selling me a product, you can't pay to get higher up on their rank.
So maybe like a self-hosted type.
Yeah,
algorithm.
Mastodon for purchasing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know how that's going to work, but that'll make robotics actually magical. And when you're ordering the things that you need,
I think we're already kind of seeing that in how like OpenClaw and Hermes agent are being rolled out all around. It's like, well, this is an agent that's on your hardware that you have access to.
Yep.
It builds its own memory, and I mean, if you want to, you can go in manually and like retype it and make changes as you like,
Mhm.
right? So I mean, maybe it's not a Amazon shop algorithm, but maybe it's just you know, some really in-depth markdown file on your tastes, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, these are cool conversations.
Yeah.
But how do we pull it all back to entertainment?
Yeah, how do we pull it back in entertainment? I think
we got hung up on the robots at home,
yeah,
which I mean, for good reason. I mean, it's still about story and plot and character. Characters a role here.
for
And
sure.
so these robots have to have personality
When
and a
we
personality that jives with the family.
Yep.
we talked a little bit about it earlier about the limitations that kind of need to be dealt with before we really launch into a full on, we're just deploying characters left and right? It's like the hardware needs to get there. And in some cases it is there, but then, on machine compute, we need to be able to
Mhm.
run semantic analysis and like LLMs fast enough in a way that I can actually control the actual robots in a meaningful way. And I mean, you can cover a little bit of that with like, as we called it, rubbing your chin and going, but then also the kind of networking infrastructure of like the latency and the difficulties of phoning home to some master server. It's like OpenAI and Claude probably have the best models on the market right now, but they're still, you know, I can't open up the hood of my car and like, see what's going on in there, and that's something that, I would like to do with the machine that I'm relying so heavily on.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, we certainly got off just talking about robots in the home because that's what's currently being pursued
Mhm.
in so many ways. But yes, where that does fall into the entertainment, the fact that that there can be IPs created specifically for that and the bespoke thing,
Yes.
but it would be more in the traditional entertainment pipeline where
Mhm.
things of that nature fall at the end to whatever end of
Mhm.
that gets moved over to the toy department, and we created a TV show so that we can sell these action figure toys. But they all go in sync. But to whatever end, that's kind of the
Well, like,
traditionally that's somewhat of the end goal. The end goal is to get the robots into the home.
Yep.
But there's many steps before that, and so I'm not saying we're jumping the gun because again, we got off on the subject because that's currently what's being pursued. But I do think they're missing this giant swath that's in the middle.
Huge.
well, then
Mhm.
like in some instance, if you're making an interactable character, even if it's just a stand-in for visual effects, like, you know, some of the anecdotal stories that were told right at the beginning of the introduction of virtual production, which is like, wow, this is so immersive because me as a character, and I have to point at that mountain and say that's where we must go.
Mhm.
I'm not pointing at some green screen and imagining it. I can actually see the thing and I can actually point at it, and the other actors around me are also looking at the same thing that I'm pointing at.
Yep. Not a tennis ball.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
and that kind of rooting in some physical reality can really deliver on performance. And I mean, like my mind goes to some world where we have just interactable actors, right? To like imagine like a BB-8 or an R2D2 or a C3PO that's actually like feeding off of you know, actor feedback, right? It's like robots historically have been very good for repeatable stuff, but
Yes.
humans are very notoriously not repeatable. You know,
Yes.
we
No,
like to
no.
do things different each time.
Yes. No, absolutely. I mean, I think that's really kind of the genesis of Joel, you and I conversation of all this. I mean,
Mhm.
the way that I put it, and I touched on this earlier, of the best actors are still reacting. And
Yeah.
so where you give them the best setting to do so, a green screen is all right, that's challenging. All right. DiCaprio, you can pull this off, but so and so up and comer, it's more of a struggle. But I mean, we're getting deep into the weeds here. But I mean, one of the things to me, what you were just talking about, Blake, is there's aspects of, I think, for robotics in that use case that robotics could be more human than humans because, again, every other actor, they've already read the script, they know what's going on.
Yeah.
But if you really just went back to the robot, like, all right, reset the scene, whoop, it
Yeah.
doesn't know what it just did.
And
And
it could give you different performances each time.
correct.
Yeah.
And it could be a genuine reaction.
Mm.
Like, whoa, that explosion just happened. Like, and truly surprised, as opposed to, again, the human actor that they knew what to expect. Or yes, just lines of dialogue. It's different every single time because I took one small step to the left as opposed to the right last time, and but then that's what gives creators these options and multiple takes. And so, I mean, if you truly did just want a repeat performance, it certainly could do that. But also at the same time, it's sky's the limit of what the robot can handle there.
Yeah, that it reminds me of from The Dark Knight, the Heath Ledger hospital
Mhm.
explosion scene. You know, he was
Mhm.
supposed to push the button and it exploded.
Yep.
But it didn't work for some reason. And so what ended up making the final cut was him pushing the button and going, "What the heck?" And just smashing it over and over and over, and then looking back at it and being really confused. And then it went off, and then his shock and surprise was a genuine reaction to
Mhm.
this mishap, which ended up making the final cut.
Yep. Yeah. Well, and kudos to the whole team there. I mean, they didn't holler cut.
Mm-hmm.
He stayed in his performance. He kept going.
Yeah.
He was still the Joker in that scene. So, yeah, no, absolutely. And yes, to that point, that's a very famous scene.
Mhm.
And yes, his surprise and it's like, what the heck's happening? But yes, to that point, where robots could do the same thing. Again, each scene, let's run it again. But actors, they've already read the script. They know what the next scene holds. But the robot, the way that you could program all this, it doesn't have to know that. It's truly just experiencing life. It's living in the moment and reacting to the scene.
Sure. I think specifically on hardware, I like to, and entertainment, those intersections there, I like, and where we are and where we're going helps clarify things. Like where we are currently right now with hardware is we can bridge the digital to the real, meaning that robot can interact with virtual production, it can interact with the other cameras, it can interact with other props
Mhm.
that are digital. That is there. Latency small.
Yep.
Where we're going is we're going away from just being able to interact quickly and believably in the digital world and more into the physical world, like the emotional side of people, having the compute, having the images, sensors, the physical capability and facial structures and hands postures, all that the communication style and physically how to do that on the robot. We're going from digital connection to the physical world. On the other side of things, like on the orchestration side, we're having enough compute either decentralized running the show and on board to be able to communicate well with each other to orchestrate that world. Because it takes a lot. Because you can have a bunch of robots playing out characters on a stage, but the minute your human walks in there and that unstructured side, that the change that people do. Like, Harrison Ford, and one of the best scenes in Indiana Jones is when he just pulls out his gun and he
Mhm.
like pops. That was not
Yeah.
scripted, right? But that's the movie magic. That's what actually makes we couldn't foresee how amazing that was. Now you could be like, that's beautiful. There's like a little bit of humor in it. It's just such there. And that's where robots by themselves are going to be interesting. Robots with humans interacting is going to be just really cool. Both on stage, that in something you're recording, but both on the immersive environment side, because that's what it's going to make it a business. Like we have these different immersive experiences. You go one time and you're done. I've seen it. I've been there.
Yep.
I didn't print anything on it. It's not changing next time. It's just experiencing Picasso for the fifth time. But with these, we build these worlds. You, as a person, you imprint into that world, and when you come back again and again and again, that narrative and that storyline that you left just keeps on going. So the hardware is going to be able to keep up. That's mainly the compute bandwidth, some of the software side, like long context windows. And then the third part is what we kind of talked about in the home, but maybe in the immersive experience. What other hardware, what other parts of the environment needs to be able to react with the robot? Like the robot. And that's where
the setting.
Yeah, the setting. That's where myself, as someone who's very interested in allocating capital into new startup companies, like 99% of all of the things that are gonna make robots really cool and immersive worlds don't exist. It's not there. No one's even thought about it right now because it's completely fresh. Bridging the gap between people and worlds through robotics.
Well, this kind of reminds me of do you remember the Disney like Star Wars Star Cruise that they set up? It was basically a big hotel, but the inside was basically designed to be like the inside of a starship cruise liner. And instead of windows, it was all TV screens that looked out into space. And there's the whole storyline of them leaving the dock and going to their destination, and on your way, a story unfolds on deck, and you and the other guests are all members of this bigger story. And I don't know how many robots played a part in that, but my understanding is that most of the kind of story drivers were all Disney actors. But I kind of like that like that sounds very similar in terms of like if we could introduce robots to a degree and put them in an environment that's highly interactable.
Yep.
I mean, yeah, like each time that you go could be very different.
Totally. And if you did that cruise today, or we'll call it 3 years from now,
Yeah.
and you have a weird alien tentacle creature walking in there, you're like, it will seeing a bunch of people and getting on a cruise ship. It's really cool right away, but you see something that can never exist in real life, or you've never seen it before. That'll just transport you to a new level. That's where I think I get super excited.
Oh yeah, like I'm just coming up with this idea of like, what if you're walking down an empty hallway and there's like some weird tentacle or something, and then you look at it, and then it like goes down another hallway, and then you run to go see what it was, and it's just gone. Like real like movie moments, but in real life.
And that's where Corey just keeps coming back to this movie called The Game.
Yeah.
And you can go into it. You have to get to the question, and Corey will expound upon that. You have to get to the question like, wait a minute. Am I playing a game? Or is this something bigger? Like, I don't even know anymore. So take it.
Yeah. No, that. Well, I mean, that's the entire thriller aspect of that movie, is that it gets to the point where he doesn't know. He doesn't know what's real. He doesn't know what's fake. He doesn't know what's the game. And it kind of drives him crazy. But, if you're doing this in a in a confined atmosphere, I mean, they're two different things. But yeah, I mean, the Disney Star Cruiser thing, that's that's yeah, it's certainly in the vein of what we're talking about. I mean, that had all sorts of issues. Why that's was short lived. Um, but yeah, one element just being I do think there's aspects of it that it was a little bit of ahead of its time,
Mhm.
and just the Star Wars IP, and I mean their capex on that was just ludicrous. I don't remember what they spent off the top of my head, but it was nuts. Um, but yeah, it's and the ticket prices were equally insane.
Yeah.
Mm.
So, but what we're talking about, that's not the case,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and we can certainly dive into that in a later episode here. But yeah, that it doesn't have to be that way. Again,
Absolutely.
there's
Absolutely.
there's an idea there for sure, for sure. But the way that it was executed, yeah, it didn't stand a chance, which is sad. It's sad, but not unexpected.
Right.
Mm.
And we talked this week with a team that wants to take low cost robots and start doing an immersive experience with them, with us. So that's really cool. The $5,000, $15,000 robotic systems. But the cool thing about this opportunity is we're bridging the gap between where robotics are right now, honoring where the systems are. We're not trying to make it something it's not trying to trick people. But on the other hand, embracing immersive technologies like virtual production and projection light technologies into making a believable experience. So that's where I think this conversation are going to go is today, how can we actually create those experiences that we really want? We're not going to try to deck out an entire cruise ship and try to do something today. What we're trying to do is how can we make a small intimate experience and really blow people's minds with that, not try to make a humanoid that looks exactly like a person, but make a robot that just, wow, that just blew, created an entire world on the background and interacted with it. And I've never seen that before. And it transported me into, through the unexpected into another world.
Mhm.
Even on a business front, to me that just sounds like a mascot.
Yep.
If there's a local coffee shop that I love going to and they have their little, you know, personalized character running around,
Mhm.
that could be a reason to go to that shop over a different one. Cause it's this is a weird little guy that I have interactions with and brings me my coffee and remember remembers my name and has funny bits with the baristas or something. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think that's where we've had some conversations of robots shouldn't be something um, robots for the things that we want to do with them are going to be less like a hardware you're selling and more like a actor or as being a talent agency.
Yeah.
You're building that character, you're maintaining it, you keep on going.
More
That's
service based.
absolutely more service based, and you're it's not this one transaction deal. It's just really big relationship that will go on and on and on with the robot providers, integrators, and the end users. And it's symbiotic and it's healthy long term versus Jaws, Bruce. That contract was I'm going to give you X amount of dollars. You're going to provide me with this hardware. And then in that hardware contract, you're going to have to maintain the hardware for a long time, single digits, profit margins versus hey, you're going to provide me Bruce Model 1, and then we're going to make these upgrades for the next 15 years, and you're just going to make it more and more and more and more believable in that business model. It's symbiotic there. You're healthy as a vendor. I'm healthy as a, because people are coming to see Bruce because it's a new experience every time.
Bruce is in the shark on the ride, not the movie.
Yeah, on the ride. Yeah. Because
that is what they refer to it during production. Yep. Yeah, that's where they got the name for Bruce from Finding Nemo.
Right.
But yeah, from the stuff you're just talking about there, that but yeah, if you can get that stuff down, below $7.25 an hour, then you're in the money.
Yep. And And we've already been, talking with people on the experience side, and like wouldn't bat an eye at $30-$45 an hour.
Mhm.
But if your robots, like right now, if your robot's 15 grand, 20 grand, and it's doing shows, you're looking at like return on investment in like 3 or 4 months. And as an integrator, like let's call it wrapped up in the IP, like a year, you hit return on investment. But the cool thing about what we're talking about in immersive, even if the mascot for the coffee shop, what you're saying, today you have one coffee shop, tomorrow you have 2, 10 years you have
Ooh, yeah.
200, right? You're not just making one Bruce for one Universal Studios. You're making this really scalable, experience. And then now you're not only helping out with coffee shops, but it's also the greeter at Costco, and it's also like
Yeah.
Walmart. And now all of those skill sets, all of that infrastructure is scalable and keeps on going. That's what we're talking about and where it's going.
Well, especially when you scale it up into like multiple locations, like you
Mhm.
can even make a game out of that, right? It's like, oh, have you said hello to me at every single store? It's like,
Yeah.
oh, hey, you're rank, top
Rainforest Cafe.
1%. Yeah, yeah. You've
Yeah.
said hello to some monkey character at like half of the rainforest cafes, and like
For sure.
yeah.
And it could be slightly different monkey every single time.
Yeah,
Purple monkey here.
or it's the same one,
Right.
and it's like, oh man, what are you doing all the way out here?
Mm-hmm.
This is 5 hours from your house.
Right. Well, and there's where that persistent memory
Mhm.
can come in, and like
Yeah.
tailored memory. And I think this is where, societies have been trying to go. Like they have cameras at McDonald's that,
Yeah.
they know who you are, they know what you ordered last time.
Mhm.
I mean, Starbucks knows probably more about you than and what you like to drink and when you like to drink it than the majority of your friends.
Mhm.
Now, it's kind of creepy when a camera's doing that and your drink pops out. You're like, man, it's a spy nation.
Yeah.
But when you have a like embodiment, a personalization there, maybe it's still a little creepy.
Yeah.
But it is a little bit that the scaffolding, the human scaffolding to be able to engage into the digital world is more. There's some personification there, and it's easier and it's healthier and it's better for the human to engage with that. Yeah.
Well, and the thing about that is that's already occurring.
It is
Uh,
already occurring, right?
And so aspects of this podcast or everything we're up to just have our fingers on the scale to push it in a better direction.
Yes, absolutely.
Well, what's the runtime, boys?
We're at 128.
128.
All right.
Well, who want to call it on that?
Yeah, do we want to come up with an outro or just cold close?
I got one.
Yeah, take it.
Yeah. Well, this is calling you out, but you got to watch the game by next week.
Done. All right.
Oh man.
All right.
Take it away if somebody else wants it.
Hang on.
It
Let me pull it up. What streaming service is it on?
Hey, I have
I
no
gave
excuses.
you my Criterion version.
He specifically gave me one. Yeah, so
Oh.
I'll get that going. It's embarrassing that it's been this long.
Dang, it's not on anything.
Yeah. I think the outro here is people should get excited, and people should get, as we talk last week, get excited, get picky, get opinionated, and hold the future accountable for the world that you want to live in. And stop just accepting that product, that experience that somebody has for you, because it's just getting bad. We're getting the same formulas, the same everything else.
Mhm.
So yeah, in the immortal words of was it Sigourney Weaver, Alien, stay frosty. So stay frosty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Stay frosty. Yeah, I feel good about that. I think last week is not gonna go out.
Nope.
So I mean, maybe that's for the Patreon subscribers, but
Okay.
Yeah.
So this week truly will be the first one.
I would think so.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. I was already I was kind of scheming something, but I don't know why I'm still talking to the mic. But
I mean, that's how I can hear you. I got
oh,
things
that's
on.
true. But yeah, I was even just thinking, even if like last week's was just even just labeled like the preamble or something.
Yeah,
Or
Mm.
just
we could do that.
it's episode 0 that just kind of
I'm okay with that.
a little bit of something, but
I just wanted
this
to go
week really
into
is what kicks it off.
yeah. I just wanted to go into last week as kind of there's no expectation. Don't worry about like saying something wrong. There's no outline. We're just gonna go for it and just get a feel for group chemistry.
Mhm.
I mean, yeah, like
Yep.
if we want to throw it out as a preamble, I think that's fine with me. I mean, maybe we want to give it a listen over to make sure nobody says anything that
Yeah.
we shouldn't have.
Right.
Yeah. And I do say we get 3 in the can before we actually put anything live. Think that or
Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, it doesn't matter. I mean, just stick them online whenever we're comfortable, I suppose.
Yeah, it'll take me a little bit to get the kind of
It's not like we got a follower base that's
yeah,
tune in at
yeah,
at 10 o'clock.
yeah. The editing workflow I'm still working out. I'm trying out a few different pieces of software to see what works best, and unfortunately, I think it is using all of them a little bit. So, um,
Mm.
but I think once we get 1 or 2 in the bag, it'll be a lot faster to
Yeah.
pump them out. Because right now I'm just kind of having to do everything from scratch.
Yeah.
No assets,
Yeah, I think
visually at least.
I think you started to ask me earlier, BK, if I talked to Blake or Joel about some of the stuff that we were discussing, some of the video
Oh,
stuff,
yeah.
but
Well, I mean, a good story for you is well, what was that? But
Jasmine fell out of bed.
Mhm.
so Corey was telling me about Apollo, his little pen name guy. And he showed me the one Substack article that went out, and at first I wasn't like super into it. I'm like, let's just use regular names. Like it's not a big deal. But yesterday, as I was working on an outline and trying to wrap my head around like direction to take this, I'm like, well, here, let me go on the website and create like a little brand guideline. What are the core values? What should always be stuck to? If something violates this,
Yep.
cut it. And I went to the page that had the little characters, and I saw your robot, and it looked exactly like you. And I'm like,
Festus.
yes,
Yep.
Hephaestus. And I was like, and when I saw them next to each other, I'm like, I get it now. And it just very quickly flipped from a thing of like Corey talking about pen names and me going like, I don't like, let's just do regular names. And then I see the 2 robots together, and I'm like, oh, okay.
That's cool.
I get it. And I immediately started imagining a world for them to exist in, you know? And it immediately got my brain going in terms of like the visual presentation. Cause like first I was just gonna do like a little thing and we'll put little icons and I'll have like a border light up when somebody's talking. But then it got me going of like, okay, well, like what if we build like a character set for like design of each of these characters? And then we use generative AI to actually like build a set that we exist in, and then I can generate like a backlight on each of us and have that kind of flip in and out as each of us is talking. And just like I just immediately like just went down this whole rabbit hole of like little things that could add production value, of like the kind of um like projector vibe that Corey made for the kind of core logo on the home screen of just like and it's like so like I'm imagining this thing where it's like, make a robot for me, put us all on a couch or something, and then, we can have like a little CRT TV to show whoever our guest is or something, and um, have the kind of backlight be like a creative way to like show who's talking, and even add like little like story elements and movement in the background. Maybe even over time, we do like the like setting slowly changes and like cutting it into like different seasons or something. And so we start off on like a clean room, and then we get put into a different setting, and then that setting slowly over the course of each couple podcasts gets like more and more dilapidated and post-apocalyptic, and and then we go to the next one and somebody's recovered each of the robots, and it's like big cardboard boxes with each of the character names written on it, and it's just like the little like eye lights lighting up for speech instead, and then the one after that is like a hard launch of something like a new product or whatever it is that you guys end up doing. And
Yep.
then, oh, now here's all the characters back in a new setting, and just being able to actually like add, this kind of subtle background storytelling. And all that came from just Corey's pen name, not about it. A second one enters the frame. That just started this whole thing. And that was my whole morning. This morning was kind of writing out that idea and how I would do it. And
Love the idea.
Yeah.
Well, I was telling him to your point always of one robot, two robots, three robots.
Yep.
That whole like he gets it now.
Yeah.
You and your little red hair on the robot and all
Yep.
that. But yeah. So yeah, Blake and I we hadn't discussed any of that stuff of the branding, how I originated on that, but we did today. But yeah, just telling about the whole Greek pantheon, all that stuff, origins of Western civilization and story and blah blah blah. But yeah, and I'm just thinking here, I'm just still riffing, but one of those again where I was telling you earlier, just kind of had the three of us just in a triangle, just standing and talking to each other. But we could do that'd be funny. The robots, but there's a fire in between all of them. So even just the little flicker on, if that's doable, I don't know what I'll from those aspects, but
something is doable.
But yeah, the robot standing around the fire talking. That's pretty deep.
I think I brought up something earlier on. I don't know if
but it goes to the preamble
or not.
The preamble was all about the campfire.
Right.
Yeah, the three robots sitting around a campfire in like a old Western setting. Like I don't know if Joel was here for that one, but
I think you briefly mentioned it earlier.
Yeah, but yeah, just like that'd be a great little preamble one-off.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. I love it. We'll keep exploring all that.
Okay,
for sure. You go turn that light back on. All right. Well, that's fun.
Yeah, that was good.